happy Easter to everyone out there from the Next Up YouTube channel. So, Easter, I think for a lot of us, and I know for myself, I was saying that, this time of year is the time we either spend it with family or, some of us, we used to take this time out to, head out to church or have like a barbecue, Easter egg hunt, stuff like that. So it is weird that, we're having to spend this time indoors, locked down, locked in, but we all know what we can do, hashtag stay in or hashtag stay home with the hopes that we can get this virus under control, this virus being a coronavirus, and, we can get back soon to, doing what we used to do during this time, out barbecuing and enjoying life, enjoying family, and just everyone just having a chance to just, enjoy the weather and sports. So we all are looking forward to getting back to normal soon. But this show right now, or this particular purpose, is to talk about a story that I saw pop up. Now, for me, I'm a big tech fan, and, I love talking about tech. Tech is my, I say my passion, my life. We all use it. And I just wrote this morning how tech can be very useful and has been stepping up at a time like today. But if I'm being honest, there's a part of tech that makes me afraid, because for every good thing that tech can do, there are some things that where tech can be, fearful, can cause problems. For example, as much as we are a big fan back in the early 2009, 2010 of the rooting and hacking community, for allowing us to open up our phones or root our phones to put on, customized software. By opening up your phone to, good things, you still have the potential that someone can use that same exploit to hack your phone for not so good things, to get a hold of critical information such as what your bank information is, or use that as a backdoor to add spyware or adware or anything like that. For as many as the white hats you do have some of the, as they say, the black hats that are out there for their own selfish motives or trying to utilize tech to, rob people, to steal from people and cause harm to people. So, for every good thing about tech, if we to be fair, there are some things that concern me with this whole tech movement. And in this story today, and I was reading this on 9 to 5 Google, they posted on April 10th. And they were talking about Google and Apple partnering, building a way to basically trace people who had COVID-19 through Android and iOS. And basically the way it's going to work is, they're trying to control the spread of COVID-19 by the governments. And both Google and Apple said, look, we're going to come together. We're going to allow to use a joint effort to leverage Bluetooth on Android and iOS to help the government reduce the spread of the virus. And basically, they're going to leverage location data and all this information and provide that information so the government can get an idea who was sick with the virus, where they were at, and try to find ways to, locate where they were at and potential people they were nearby so they can notify them to have them get tested or see if they themselves are, feeling any of the symptoms. Now, on the surface, this looks like it's a good idea because with the whole COVID-19 or, they say you can go a couple of days and not even know that you're sick. You'll feel just as normal. And actually, during that period, you are as most, or I can say most vulnerable, but you are able to spread the most as far as virus. You're the most contagious that you will probably ever be during that period. And you may just go about your life doing day-to-day or mundane things, whether it be making trips to the grocery store, at work, or at the park, or whatever. And then, a couple of days later, you come down and you're sick. And what they're looking to do is use that to, again, give that information to someone else. May say, okay, you may have been around someone who have been exposed. So let's go ahead and quarantine yourself so that we can limit you exposing others. And during a period right now where a lot of states are basically at a point where they are overran as far as the hospitals, looking for beds and just running out of, ventilators, running out of the ability to care for so many people. We're really trying to control this because at this point, we just cannot get to a point where we're so out of control with the spread that we just can't treat everyone, and then people will be left dying or, not getting the rightful medical treatment that they need. So in that aspect, I understand the purpose of using that and using that tech. But for every good thing, there are some things I have concerns with. And here's the bad thing, the concern I have about that. So right before this whole COVID-19 thing, came out, we were already attacking the tech companies, especially Google, for their privacy invasions. You have people coming out there saying, we really don't trust you guys because you're doing way too much as far as our information. And, it's things with our information that we're not comfortable with. And you were starting to see a lot of these companies kind of backtrack and starting to make changes to their software to give us more control over allowing what they can do with our information, with our data. So for us to get to a point where we was forcing these tech companies to backtrack and think about what they were doing with our privacy, to now basically giving them the keys to do what, I gotta say what they want, but to basically invade our privacy in a way that if COVID-19 was a problem, none of us would ever agree to. And here's the other big issue. It's not just tech companies having this, but then they giving this information over to the government. Now, look, I am not pro or anti-government. This is not meant as a way to spark any type of, debate about any particular candidate, any particular party, or how it may feel about politics. This is not meant as a political topic. As a matter of fact, as much as I'm hopeful and wanting for you guys to make comments, whether it be for or against what I say, please do not post any comments for or against any political party or any political figure. This is not what this topic is about. But I feel like when you give over that type of control to a government or to any entity, it opens the door to where we're giving up part of our civil liberties that we may never get back. A good example of this, if we look back in 9/11, where you had terrorists, the terrorist attacks, and we were willing to give the government and tech companies certain liberties to take so they can find said terrorists. Why? Because we were so afraid that we're like, hey, we'll do whatever because I'm not guilty. I'm not doing anything wrong. Go after the bad guys. And we were willing to give that up. The problem is that the war has been pretty much done for a while, and yet we still have yet to recover those civil liberties. And that's the concern I have with this. Once you give that up, who's going to be in control of the on-off switch that says, okay, this is done now. We're turning this off. You no longer have control of this. Because the problem is once you give up a certain freedom, it's hard to get it back. How long before they try to use that as holding that over our head to say, well, we need to keep doing this because COVID-19, even though we found a treatment for it, we still want to, quote, limit the control, limit the spread. And we're thinking this is going to be a 2 or 3 month thing. It's a 2 or 3 year thing. And that's my problem. And I think a concern that a lot of us have. Yes, none of us want to allow the spread of COVID-19 to get to a point where, I get sick or, let's say if I am sick, I spread it to someone else who, may not have the the immune system to protect themselves from said viruses. In other words, I don't want to be the cause of someone dying because I ended up being in the wrong place or I didn't know I was sick. And, I'm all for doing whatever it takes to help the medical staff, help anyone that's trying to control this virus. Because, yes, it has truly grounded us in a way that, we understand this is a fight that is not just a fight about politics or fight about this, this is a fight that everyone is having to deal with across the world. And we all can't wait for this thing to be over. And we're all willing to do our part. But my concern still relies in the fact that I don't trust giving this type of power to any entity, whether it be government or corporation. Period. That kind of control should remain in our hands only. Yes, are you going to have people that go out there when they shouldn't? Unfortunately, it is what it is. And I think the only way that you can kind of to better protect yourself is to, one, follow the steps of staying at home. And if you do need to go out, because the reality is we still need to go out for those of us that have jobs that are considered essential, we have to go to work. And, not just have to, but a lot of us, we're just glad to be able to have a job to go to at this current, environment that we're in. But the other thing, for those of us that, let's say you're working at a stay-at-home job or whatever, you still need to go out to buy groceries, to get some fresh air. I mean, that's just reality. So for those of us that do need to get out, practice social distancing, obviously wash your hands. And if you go into a business like a store or, a restaurant or whatever, put on a face mask or a face covering. It's not so much just for you, but it's for others. A good example of this, today I went to a local restaurant. It was all carry out, but, they didn't have a drive-through. So, they had people walk in and keep obviously 6 feet of distance between one and another. Now, this is a local restaurant that, caters to, a lot of people after church. So you're definitely going to have people who are elderly who, may be probably, I ain't gonna say probably, but who have more of a chance of possibly dying if they were to get COVID-19. So knowing that, I'm putting on a face mask, not just for myself, but just in case I have anything, I don't want them getting sick. That's just decency. So I think at the end of the day, if you allow people to do what they're supposed to, I think they will. And I'm not so much saying that we should not use, quote, some type of COVID-19 tracing, but I think it should be used as an app where a person can say, let me volunteer to give that information. Not where Google or Apple or government decide to go on a rampage or decide to go rogue and just take that information themselves. Because we're hearing other countries, utilizing such programs or such, control where they're able to see who's been out when they're not supposed to and exercise any type of authority over that. And I don't think any of us here in the States want to have that type of power given to any entity. Again, we have these freedoms, and I know the purpose of these freedoms is not to be used as a way to say, hey, I'm going to take this freedom to quote, harm anyone. But at the same time, we don't want to give that type of freedom up anyway. Because the problem that a lot of us have is, for right now, COVID-19 have us all afraid to the point we're willing to do what we need to do to limit the spread. But our concern is when it's all said and done. Because COVID-19, this whole concern we have, is going to pass soon. We're going to get through it, just like we did anything else in the past. But when it's all over, when it's all said and done, what's going to happen after that? Who's going to take this control back from said entities? Who's going to make sure those controls are removed? Who's going to make sure that that switch is turned to the opposition? And that's a concern that I have. And that's for me why I'm like, I don't know if I feel comfortable with said company having those controls. And it's weird because yesterday I was kind of playing a game while watching a movie, and I saw something popped up, an ad, and it came from Google saying, hey, were you sick? Do you know anyone near you that's sick? And so on and so on. And again, I understand why they're asking such questions. They're trying to get information to kind of get an idea where, the pinpoint where potential virus spreads could be and so on and so on. But I know for a lot of people, that's just, that's going to be something that they're not going to be comfortable having those kinds of questions asked or, brought up on a smartphone, especially those who are of an older generation. But I'm kind of curious out there, your thoughts. Do you feel comfortable allowing these companies to have that type of control or to ask those type of questions? Do you see that as a concern, or do you see that as, look, they're just trying to help control the spread and they're just trying to do everything they can to volunteer to help and get this thing under control so we can get back to our day-to-day? Leave your comments below, and please, no political. If you post anything that's crazy political, I will remove it. But if you post something that is, pertaining to this discussion, I look forward to it. And I hope to just have people to have their own opinions with this one way or another. Thank you for tuning in. I'm out.